Rihanna helps a homeless boy. What happens next will shock you. Imagine a world where kindness could change the course of someone's life forever. A world where even the smallest gesture has the power to make a difference. In this world, there are moments when everything can change with just one act of compassion. It's easy to overlook those who are suffering, especially when they're invisible to the world around them. The homeless, the hungry, the forgotten. They live in the shadows of our busy lives, and we often pass by without noticing. But imagine if one person, just one, could make the difference that changes it all. On a cold, rainy evening, under the dim glow of streetlights, sits a young black boy, around 10 years old. His clothes are torn, and his face is covered in dirt. His tiny hands clutch a cardboard sign that reads, "Will work for food." He shivers, not just from the cold, but from the feeling of being invisible. The boy's name is Malik, but no one knows that. No one knows his story. No one cares to ask. He has no family, no home, and no future, at least. That's what it seems like to him as he huddles in a corner, hoping for just a scrap of food or maybe a kind word. Every day, he faces the same struggles. The hunger gnawing at his stomach, the freezing nights on the unforgiving streets, and the harsh reality that the world seems to have forgotten him. People walk by. Some glance at him for a moment, but they don't stop. They don't see the child behind the cardboard sign. They don't see the human who is suffering. But tonight, as Malik shivers in the cold, something incredible is about to happen. Rihanna, a superstar known for her compassion and philanthropy, is walking down the same street on her way to a charity event. She has always been the voice for the voiceless, using her platform to raise awareness and bring attention to those who need it most. As she passes by Malik, something catches her eye. She stops. For a moment, she looks down at the boy, and her heart fills with empathy. She bends down, asks him his name, and listens to his story. She sees beyond the torn clothes and the cardboard sign. She sees a human being, a child lost and in need. Rihanna, with all her fame and fortune, chooses to give her time, her attention, and her love. This is where Malik's life changes forever. Little does he know, this act of kindness from Rihanna will set a chain of events into motion that will alter his life in ways he never imagined. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel Epic Story Moments. Share this video with your friends, and let us know in the comments what you thought of the story. Also, tell us where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring even more inspiring stories your way. Now, stay tuned for the next chapter. Rihanna walked briskly down the sidewalk, the sound of her heels echoing softly in the cool evening air. She was on her way to a charity event, one of many she had attended over the years, but tonight felt different. She couldn't quite place it, but there was a stirring in her chest, a sense that something was about to happen. Her mind wandered briefly to the work of her Clara Lionel Foundation, how it had grown and helped so many people, and how she had used her fame to shine a light on the forgotten and voiceless. Still, there was always that nagging feeling that there was more she could do, more lives she could touch, more people she could help. As she walked, her eyes scanned the streets. People were going about their business, the world moving as it always did, fast and unfeeling, rarely slowing down to notice the struggles of others. But then, something caught her eye. A small figure hunched in the corner of a busy intersection, his back against the cold, damp wall of a building. The boy was no older than 10. His clothes were ragged, stained, and far too thin for the chilly night air. His hands were clasped tightly around a cardboard sign that read, "Will work for food." His face was pale and dirty, his eyes dull and tired, as if they had long since lost a fight to hope. His small frame shook not only from the cold, but from the weight of a reality too harsh for a child to bear. Rihanna's heart clenched. She had seen countless homeless people over the years. She had done her part to help them when she could, raising funds and awareness through her foundation. But this boy, Malik, something about him felt different. Her gaze lingered on him, her steps slowing as she approached. The world continued on around her, oblivious of the boy's suffering. But Rihanna couldn't ignore him. She stopped in front of him, her presence interrupting the rhythm of the busy street. Malik didn't look up at first. His gaze remained fixed on the ground, lost in his own thoughts, resigned to the fact that no one would ever stop to help. But Rihanna wasn't just anyone. She wasn't someone who passed by without seeing the humanity in others. And right now, she wasn't just a pop star on her way to a charity event. She was a human being, feeling the pull of compassion and empathy, her heart aching for this child's pain. "Hey there," she said softly, her voice a gentle interruption to the noise of the world. "What's your name?" Malik flinched at first, not used to anyone speaking to him, especially not someone like Rihanna. He slowly looked up, his wide brown eyes meeting hers. For a brief moment, it was as if he couldn't quite believe that she was real, standing there in front of him. A part of him wanted to believe that someone like her could see him, could care about him. But he had learned long ago that the world wasn't kind, that people didn't stop for him. They never had before. "Malik," he muttered softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Rihanna's smile was warm and genuine, her eyes reflecting a kindness that Malik had never seen before. "Malik, my name is Rihanna. I know it's hard out here, but you don't have to be alone." Malik blinked, trying to process the fact that Rihanna, the world-famous singer, was standing in front of him, talking to him. She was someone whose name he had heard on the radio, someone whose face had been on billboards and in magazines. She was a superstar, far beyond his reach. And yet, here she was, speaking to him like he was a person, not just a beggar on the streets. I don't know if I can go anywhere," Malik stammered, his voice breaking as he spoke. "I don't have anywhere to go." Rihanna knelt down beside him, her face now level with his. She could feel the chill of the night air, but it was nothing compared to the coldness of the world that had turned its back on this boy. "It's okay," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. "You don't have to be alone. You matter, and I'm here to help you. No one should have to live like this." The words hung in the air, an offer of hope that Malik couldn't quite understand. He had learned not to trust the promises of others, especially those who seemed too good to be true. People like Rihanna didn't stop for kids like him. They didn't care about homeless children living on the streets, struggling just to survive. But Rihanna wasn't like other people. She had made a career out of standing up for the voiceless, giving back to communities that had been overlooked for far too long. Through her Clara Lionel Foundation, she had worked tirelessly to support children, families, and communities in need. She had seen firsthand the power of small acts of kindness, the way one person could make a ripple that spread out and touched the lives of so many. And tonight, Malik was that person who needed help, and Rihanna wasn't going to turn her back on him. "I'm going to make sure you're okay," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "I know a place that can help. You're not alone anymore." Malik stared at her, still in disbelief. He had heard people say things like that before, but they were always empty promises. But there was something different about Rihanna. There was a sincerity in her eyes, a calmness in her words, that made him want to believe her. For the first time in a long time, he let himself feel the tiniest spark of hope. Without a word, Rihanna reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She dialed a number she knew all too well, the number for the emergency outreach team at her foundation. She had done this countless times, bringing children off the streets, offering them a chance at a better life. She had the resources, the network, the power to make a real difference. And tonight, she wasn't going to let Malik slip through the cracks. "Hi, it's Rihanna," she said into the phone. "I found a young boy here on the streets. He's cold, alone, and needs help. Can we get him to a safe place?" She listened intently, her eyes never leaving Malik as she spoke, her heart swelling with the knowledge that, in this moment, she could make a change. The operator on the other end reassured her that help was on the way. Rihanna gave Malik a reassuring smile as she hung up the phone. "They're on their way," she said. "You're going to be all right, Malik." The boy didn't know what to say. For the first time, he felt a sense of peace, a sense of being cared for in a way he had never experienced. As the car pulled up to take him to a shelter, Rihanna stood by, watching him climb into the vehicle. She had done what she could for now, but she knew this was only the beginning for Malik. As the car drove off, Rihanna stood in the cold, her hands stuffed in her pockets, her heart full. She had made a promise to herself that she would do everything in her power to help those who couldn't help themselves, to fight for a better world for children like Malik. Tonight, she had done just that. Rihanna walked up to the young boy sitting by the corner, her heart heavy with empathy. She could see how he was shivering, his frail body curled up as if trying to make himself as small as possible, hoping that perhaps the world wouldn't notice him. He was hunched over, his face hidden in his hands, but the desperation in his posture was evident. There was a quiet sadness in his eyes, a reflection of the harsh reality he had been forced to face. But that was about to change. Without hesitation, Rihanna lowered herself to sit beside him on the cold concrete, her presence creating a small, safe space amidst the chaos of the street. She didn't say anything right away, just sat in silence, allowing him to adjust to her presence. The boy looked up at her, clearly surprised, but there was something in his eyes that made it clear he wasn't used to someone like her sitting down beside him. "Hey," Rihanna said softly, her voice gentle and warm. "What's your name?" The boy blinked and seemed to hesitate for a moment, unsure whether he could trust her. He had learned not to expect much from anyone. He had learned that people rarely cared enough to stop and ask, and when they did, it was often for the wrong reasons. But something about Rihanna made him pause. He finally spoke, his voice small and tentative. "Malik," he said quietly, looking at her as if unsure whether this was just another passing moment or if it was something real. Rihanna smiled, and in that smile, Malik saw kindness. He wasn't used to kindness. He wasn't used to being treated like he mattered. But here she was, giving him her time, her attention, and perhaps most importantly, her belief. "Well, Malik," she said, "I'm Rihanna, and I'm here to help." She noticed how his eyes flickered with uncertainty, as if he couldn't quite comprehend that someone like her was sitting beside him on a cold street corner, talking to him like he was a person who deserved help. But Rihanna wasn't in a hurry. She knew that sometimes just taking the time to listen was enough to make someone feel seen again. Malik didn't speak at first, but Rihanna could sense the weight of his silence. She could feel his pain without him needing to say much. She knew that it wasn't just about being hungry or cold. It was the weight of being invisible, of feeling like the world had forgotten about him. "I know it's tough out here," Rihanna said softly, her voice full of understanding. "But I don't want you to think that this is all there is for you. You deserve more than this." As she spoke, Rihanna gently reached into her bag and pulled out a warm meal she had brought with her. It wasn't much, just a simple sandwich and a bottle of water, but in that moment, it was everything. She handed it to him, and he hesitated for a moment before taking it. His hands were trembling, not just from the cold, but from the unfamiliarity of being cared for. "Here," she said, "this is for you." Malik's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe that someone had given him food without expecting anything in return. His stomach growled, but it wasn't just hunger he was feeling. It was a strange mix of relief and confusion. People had walked by him countless times, but no one had ever stopped to offer him something as simple as a meal. This act of kindness was like a beacon of hope cutting through the darkness of his world. I don't know what to say," Malik murmured, his voice breaking slightly as he looked up at Rihanna. "You don't have to say anything," Rihanna replied, her eyes softening. "You're welcome." As he took the first bite, Rihanna's thoughts wandered. She had seen so many kids like Malik over the years. Children left to fend for themselves, abandoned by a system that didn't care, forgotten by the world around them. She had seen the brokenness in their eyes, the way they tried to hide their pain, the way they fought to hold on to whatever little hope they had left. But what they all needed wasn't just food or shelter. It was someone to believe in them. "I can't change everything right now," Rihanna said, her voice full of compassion. "But I can help you start over. I can help you find a place where you can be safe, A place where you don't have to worry about going hungry or freezing at night. And I can be there for you." Malik looked up at her, a mixture of disbelief and hope filling his eyes. "You really think I can get out of this?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper, as though he couldn't quite bring himself to believe it. Rihanna nodded, her gaze firm yet kind. "I know you can." "This," she paused, motioning around them, "this is not your story. You don't have to let it define you. You have the power to write a new one." She stood up and pulled off her jacket, handing it to Malik. "Here," she said. "This will help keep you warm while we wait for the team to get here. I promise you, things are going to get better. You're not alone anymore." Malik took the jacket from her, his fingers trembling as he put it on. It was warm and smelled faintly of perfume, a stark contrast to the cold, ragged life he had known. As he buttoned it up, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, his story wasn't over. That there was something more waiting for him. Something better. Rihanna took out her phone once more and dialed the number of her foundation's outreach team. She had made this call many times before, helping children like Malik who had nowhere to go. She knew the process, knew the shelter would take him in, provide food, warmth, and a safe place to stay. But more than that, she knew that the boy sitting beside her needed someone to believe in him. He needed someone to remind him that he was worth saving, that he was capable of so much more than just surviving. "Hi," she said when the operator answered. "I've found a boy in need of help. His name is Malik. He's on the streets, and he needs a safe place to stay. Can you send someone to help him?" The operator reassured her that help was on the way, and Rihanna hung up, turning back to Malik, who was still sitting on the ground, the jacket now snug around his shoulders. She kneeled down beside him again, looking into his eyes. "I'm going to make sure you're okay," Rihanna said, her voice steady and full of conviction. "You don't have to stay out here anymore. You have a future, Malik. You just have to trust that there's more for you out there." For the first time in a long while, Malik allowed himself to believe that he had a future, that he was worth someone's time, someone's effort. It wasn't much, but in that moment it was enough. Rihanna smiled, knowing that she had made a difference. She hadn't just given him a meal or a warm jacket. She had given him something more precious than that. She had given him hope. As the sound of the car pulling up to take Malik to a shelter filled the air, Rihanna stood back and watched. She knew that this was just the beginning of a long journey for Malik, but she also knew that this was a moment that changed everything. For once, he had someone who saw him, who believed in him, and who had given him the opportunity to change his story. As the weeks passed, Malik's life slowly began to change. What started as a simple act of kindness, a warm meal and a jacket from Rihanna, turned into a turning point that would set the course for his future. At first, Malik could hardly believe the help that was being offered to him. It felt too good to be true. For so long, he had lived on the streets, enduring a harsh reality that no child should ever have to face. But with Rihanna's support and the network of people she brought into his life, Malik began to see the possibility of something different. Rihanna had kept her promise. After the night they met, she made sure to stay in touch, checking in regularly and making sure that the steps she had set in motion were being followed. The first thing she did was connect Malik with a shelter, a safe place where he could sleep without fear. But she didn't stop there. Rihanna knew that what Malik needed wasn't just physical safety. He needed hope, opportunity, and guidance. She used her network to ensure that Malik had access to education. It wasn't an easy transition for him. He had been away from school for so long, and the world of classrooms, books, and exams felt foreign and intimidating. But with the help of some compassionate teachers and mentors, Malik slowly began to catch up. He started by learning the basics, like reading and writing, but it wasn't long before he showed a natural talent for math. The teachers were impressed by his ability to grasp concepts quickly, and it gave him a sense of pride he had never known before. As the days turned into weeks, Malik's transformation began to take shape. At first, he was shy and reserved, but over time, he began to open up. His smile, which had once been rare, started to appear more often. His once distant eyes began to shine with possibility. Rihanna, of course, was still very much involved in his life. She would visit him at the shelter, take him to see plays or movies, and sometimes just sit and talk with him. She encouraged him to dream bigger, to see a future beyond the streets he had once known. She made sure that Malik understood the importance of education, of believing in himself, and of never giving up. One of the most significant changes in Malik's life came when Rihanna helped him find a foster family. After months of being in a safe but impersonal shelter, Malik was finally placed with a family who would offer him the love and care he had so desperately needed. The family, a kind couple with 2 children of their own, had been waiting for a child like Malik to come into their lives. From the moment he met them, Malik felt a connection. They didn't see him as a charity case or someone to pity. They saw him as a child in need of love, just like their own children. The transition to his new home wasn't easy at first. Malik had trouble trusting the idea of family. He had been let down so many times, and the idea of being cared for, truly cared for, was foreign to him. But the family, patient and understanding, never pushed him. They gave him space, time, and unconditional love. Slowly, he began to trust them. They helped him with his homework, took him on family outings, and made him feel like he was part of something bigger than himself. For the first time in years, Malik began to feel at home. He began to understand what it meant to be loved unconditionally. The family provided him with more than just food and shelter. They gave him a sense of belonging, a place where he could finally feel safe and appreciated. He didn't feel like a stranger anymore. He felt like a son, a brother, a part of something that mattered. As Malik's life slowly started to stabilize, his confidence grew. He became more engaged in his education, taking pride in the progress he was making. The shy boy who had once been so reluctant to speak now participated in class, answering questions with a newfound eagerness. His grades improved steadily, and for the first time, he believed that he could actually go somewhere in life. In the evenings, he would sit with his foster parents, talking about his day and his dreams for the future. Malik now dreamed of becoming a doctor. He wanted to help other children like him who were suffering, to be a beacon of hope for those who felt lost and forgotten. It was a lofty dream, but one that Malik now believed was within reach. Rihanna had given him that gift, the gift of believing in himself. She had not just given him a meal, a jacket, or a warm place to sleep. She had given him the tools to build a better future, a future where he could thrive. She had shown him that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the course of a life. But even as Malik's life began to flourish, he never forgot the woman who had changed everything for him. Rihanna continued to be a constant presence in his life, offering advice, encouragement, and guidance. She was not just his benefactor. She had become a mentor and a friend. One afternoon, as Malik sat with his foster parents and spoke about his aspirations, he shared something that brought tears to his foster mother's eyes. "I want to help kids like me," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I want to be a doctor. I want to give them the chance that I never had. I want them to know that they matter." His foster parents smiled, proud of the young man he was becoming. They knew that Malik had been through so much, and yet he had emerged stronger than ever. They believed in him, and they knew that he had the potential to accomplish anything he set his mind to. The changes in Malik's life were nothing short of miraculous. From a cold, hungry, and lonely boy on the streets to a hopeful, determined child with a future ahead of him, Malik's transformation was a testament to the power of compassion, support, and belief. As the months went by, Malik continued to grow, both academically and personally. He was no longer the scared, hopeless child he once was. He was a young boy full of dreams, a young boy who now believed that the future was his to shape. And it all started with a single act of kindness from a woman who saw beyond his circumstances. A woman who believed in him when no one else did. Rihanna had changed his life, and in doing so, she had given him the greatest gift of all, the belief that he could be anything he wanted to be. It was a long journey, and there were still many challenges ahead. But for Malik, the road ahead no longer seemed impossible. With the support of those who cared about him, with the love of his foster family, and with the encouragement of Rihanna, he knew that he could face whatever the future had in store. This was not just a boy's transformation. It was a story of hope, of what happens when a single act of kindness can create ripples that change lives. Months had passed since Rihanna had first met Malik, and his transformation was nothing short of remarkable. No longer a homeless child on the streets, Malik had become a young boy with a future, full of dreams and hope. He had found not just a safe place to stay, but a family that loved him and supported him in ways he had never thought possible. He had caught up in school, his confidence was growing, and the future now looked bright. One chilly afternoon, Malik found himself standing on the very street where everything had changed for him. It was a moment he had never expected to happen. The boy who once sat alone, shivering and invisible, now returned to that same spot. But this time, things were different. He wasn't alone. Beside him stood his new family, a kind couple who had welcomed him with open arms and hearts. Together, they had walked down the street with Malik, sharing a quiet sense of pride and accomplishment. Malik looked around the familiar area. The cold streetlights, the dimly lit sidewalks, the sounds of the busy city. Everything felt the same, yet it was all so different now. He was no longer the scared, lonely boy he had once been. The streets that had once been his home now seemed so distant, so foreign to him. He was with his new family now, people who loved him and believed in him. They had given him a sense of belonging, a feeling he had longed for all his life. And as they walked down the street, Malik couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come. He turned to his foster mother, a woman who had been nothing but kind and patient with him. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," he said softly, his voice full of awe. "I can't believe I'm here, with all of you. I never thought I'd have a family, a home. And I never thought I'd be going to school or even thinking about the future." His foster mother smiled warmly and gave him a gentle squeeze on the shoulder. "It's all because you never gave up, Malik. You believed in yourself, and you've come so far. But remember, you didn't get here alone. You had help along the way." Malik nodded, his eyes welling up with emotion. He knew who she meant. He thought about Rihanna, the woman who had seen him when no one else had. The woman who had reached out, not just with a meal or a jacket, but with the promise of something more, something life-changing. She had been the catalyst for this entire journey. Without her, Malik knew he wouldn't be standing here today. But as they continued walking down the street, something unexpected happened. As they passed a small cafe, a man approached them. His expression was one of curiosity, and he seemed to be in a hurry. He stopped in front of Malik and his new family and smiled warmly. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help but notice you," the man said. "You look familiar. Are you Malik?" Malik was taken aback. "Yes, I'm Malik," he replied, his brow furrowing in confusion. "But how do you know my name?" The man smiled even wider, his eyes twinkling with recognition. "I'm a friend of Rihanna's," he said. "I'm here to deliver something for you. It's a gift, something that I think will help you on your journey." Before Malik could respond, the man handed him an envelope sealed with a ribbon. Malik took the envelope hesitantly, unsure of what it contained. As the man disappeared into the crowd, Malik turned to his new family, who were equally confused but excited to see what was inside. Malik carefully untied the ribbon and opened the envelope. Inside, he found a letter from Rihanna herself. The letter was heartfelt, expressing her joy at seeing how far Malik had come. She spoke of how proud she was of him for persevering and how she believed in him every step of the way. But it was the last paragraph that took Malik by surprise. "Malik," the letter read, "I wanted to make sure you have everything you need to succeed. That's why I've arranged something for you. I've donated a sum of money to your new family's home so that they can continue to support you as you grow. This is my gift to you, to ensure that you never have to worry about where you'll live, what you'll eat, or whether you'll have the opportunity to follow your dreams. You are worthy of a bright future, and I will always be here for you, no matter what." As Malik finished reading, A mix of emotions surged through him. Shock, gratitude, disbelief. He didn't know how to feel. Rihanna had done something beyond anything he could have imagined. She hadn't just helped him find a home or get an education. She had ensured his new family would have the resources to support him, even after he grew older. It was a gesture of love and generosity that went beyond anything he had ever experienced. He looked up at his new family, his voice trembling. "I don't know what to say. This is more than I could ever have dreamed of." His foster mother placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is the kind of world you're now a part of, Malik. A world where kindness isn't just a fleeting moment. It's a lasting impact. Rihanna has given you more than just money or a home. She has given you the tools to succeed. The belief in yourself that you can go further than you ever thought possible." Malik nodded, his heart swelling with emotion. "I never thought someone like her would care about me. I've always felt like I was invisible to the world. But she saw me." His foster father smiled and gave him a gentle hug. "She saw you, and she made sure you would have everything you need. But don't forget, Malik, this is your journey. She's helped you, but you have the power to make the most of what she's given you. You are the one who will decide what happens next." With the letter in his hand and his family by his side, Malik felt a sense of peace he had never known before. He knew that the future was uncertain and there would still be challenges to face, but for the first time, he felt like he had a foundation, a support system that would always be there for him. He looked down at the letter again, rereading Rihanna's words. "You can do this," they seemed to say. "You are worthy of this new life." As they walked away from the street that had once been his home, Malik felt a deep sense of gratitude. Rihanna's generosity had given him the chance to build a life he could never have imagined. The future, once filled with uncertainty, was now a path he could walk with confidence, knowing that he had people who believed in him, including the woman who had set it all in motion. And as they walked into the future, Malik's heart swelled with hope. It wasn't just about the money, the home, or the education. It was about something deeper. The belief that one person could change the course of another's life, and in doing so, change the world for the better. The story of Malik, the homeless boy who was given a second chance by Rihanna's act of kindness, was not just a tale about a celebrity helping a child. It was a story that transcended fame and fortune, teaching the world an invaluable lesson. Kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change a life forever. It was a reminder that everyone deserves a second chance, and one act of compassion can ripple out, touching lives in ways we may never fully comprehend. When Malik first met Rihanna, he was no different from countless other children who find themselves forgotten by society. He was a small boy, living in the shadows of the city streets, with no family, no home, and little hope. The streets were his world, and every day was a struggle for survival. There were nights when his stomach ached from hunger, his body shivered from the cold, and his heart felt heavy with the weight of loneliness. The world around him seemed indifferent, as people walked by without a glance, too caught up in their own lives to notice the child in need. But everything changed the moment Rihanna saw him. On that fateful day, as the cold wind howled and the rain fell heavily, Rihanna, on her way to a charity event, noticed Malik sitting on the pavement. While others walked by, too preoccupied to even acknowledge the boy's existence, Rihanna stopped. In that single moment, she saw not just a homeless child, but a person who deserved more than the life he had been handed. She saw a life that could be saved, a future that could still be written, and she decided to act. For Rihanna, it wasn't about the fame or attention she would get for helping him. It wasn't about using her platform to make herself look good. It was about making a difference, about giving someone the chance they deserved. As she sat next to Malik that day, she didn't just offer him food and warmth. She offered him something far more valuable. She offered him hope. She told him he was worthy, that his story wasn't over, and that there were people in the world who cared. That moment between Rihanna and Malik set off a series of events that would change not just Malik's life, but the lives of many others. Rihanna, in addition to offering him comfort, connected him with a shelter that could provide him with the care and resources he needed. But she didn't stop there. She knew that to truly change a life, you needed more than just a roof over your head or a warm meal. You needed love, belief, and support, a foundation to build your future upon. That's why Rihanna didn't just give Malik a temporary fix. She made sure he had access to education, that he found a loving family, and that he had the tools he needed to succeed. In the weeks and months that followed, Malik's life began to change in ways he had never thought possible. At first, it was small things: a safe place to sleep, a warm bed, and people who truly cared about his well-being. But as time went on, Malik started to realize that his life wasn't just a cycle of survival anymore. He was becoming a part of something bigger. He had a family now, and that family wasn't just about providing for him. It was about lifting him up, encouraging him to dream again, and giving him the space to be a child once more. Through the help of his new family and the community that rallied around him, Malik went back to school. He began to catch up on his education, his mind growing sharper and his confidence rising. For the first time in years, Malik felt a sense of belonging. He no longer felt invisible or forgotten. His future, once uncertain, now seemed filled with possibilities. He could dream again. He could think about what he wanted to be when he grew up, not what he needed to do just to survive. But it wasn't just Malik's life that had changed. As his journey unfolded, so did the lives of those around him. Rihanna's decision to reach out to one homeless boy didn't just change his story. It ignited a chain reaction. Malik's transformation became an example to those who witnessed it, a testament to the power of kindness and compassion. People who had heard his story, whether through social media or local news, began to realize that one person's action could inspire others to act. They began to reach out to their own communities, offering help to the homeless, the hungry, and the forgotten. It became a movement. People from all walks of life, from all over the world, were touched by Malik's story. And with each new person who offered help, the chain grew stronger. Malik's story became a symbol of hope, proving that no one is too far gone to change. That no matter how dark a person's life may seem, there is always a way out, a way to find the light. Rihanna's small act of kindness became a beacon, lighting the way for others to follow. As months passed, Malik continued to grow into a bright young man. He excelled in school, was involved in community activities, and dreamed big. But he never forgot where he came from, nor the people who had helped him along the way. He knew that without Rihanna's intervention, his story could have been a tragic one. But because of her, he had been given a second chance. A chance to prove to the world that even the most broken lives can be mended. In the meantime, Rihanna continued to use her platform to spread her message of kindness and generosity. She knew that her work wasn't done. As long as there were children like Malik still living in the shadows, she would continue to fight for them. She used her foundation, the Clara Lionel Foundation, to provide resources, education, and support to those in need, ensuring that no child would have to suffer the way Malik had. Rihanna's generosity became a model for others to follow, not because it was easy, but because it was the right thing to do. As Malik entered the next phase of his life, he continued to be an example of what could happen when someone was given the chance to succeed. His story didn't just inspire people to donate money or resources. It inspired people to open their hearts, to truly see the people around them, and to believe that one act of kindness could change the world. The ripple effect of Rihanna's kindness didn't stop with Malik. It spread throughout the community, and eventually to a global stage. People were no longer just giving money or food to the homeless. They were offering mentorship, education, and emotional support. They were seeing the people they had once ignored as human beings, deserving of dignity, respect, and love. It was a shift in the way people thought, a change in the collective consciousness. And it all started with one woman, seeing one boy and deciding to help. The lesson from Malik's story is simple. Kindness is powerful. It doesn't take a lot of money, a grand gesture, or a celebrity to make a difference. All it takes is one person who chooses to see the humanity in another, to believe in their worth, and to help them rise above their circumstances. And when that person acts, It creates a ripple effect that can transform entire communities. Malik's transformation and the transformation of those around him serves as a reminder to us all that no matter how dark things may seem, there is always hope. There is always a chance for change. And it's up to each of us to take that first step to be the change we want to see in the world. Whether it's offering a helping hand, a listening ear, or simply showing someone that they are seen and valued, we all have the power to make a difference. In the end, Malik's story is not just about one boy who was given a second chance. It's about the power of compassion, the impact of kindness, and the belief that we all have the ability to change lives for the better. It's about the way that one act of love can set off a chain reaction, changing the world one small moment at a time. Rihanna didn't just change Malik's life. She changed the lives of everyone who witnessed his transformation, reminding us all that kindness is never wasted and that one person truly can make a difference. In every corner of the world, there are people in need, those who are struggling, forgotten, and invisible. But change, real change, begins with us. You don't need to be a celebrity, have unlimited wealth, or even a huge platform to make a difference in someone's life. All it takes is a small act of kindness, a moment of compassion, and the willingness to see the humanity in others. Sometimes, the most powerful impact comes from something as simple as a smile, a listening ear, or a helping hand. Rihanna's story with Malik is a perfect example of this truth. She didn't set out to change the world with one grand gesture. She just saw a young boy in need, sitting in the cold and the rain, and decided to take a moment to help. But that moment, that decision to show compassion, created a ripple effect that changed not only Malik's life but countless others. It inspired people to think about their own potential to help, to reach out, and to act with kindness. The lesson here is that you don't have to wait for a special moment or a huge opportunity to make an impact. You don't need fame or fortune. You just need to care. There are so many people out there who need help in small, everyday ways. It could be the elderly neighbor who needs assistance with groceries, the colleague who might be going through a tough time, or even the person on the street who needs someone to talk to. Think about it. What difference can you make today? What small act of kindness could change someone's world? It could be offering your time, sharing your resources, or simply being present for someone who feels alone. These acts may seem small in the grand scheme of things, but they are never insignificant. They have the power to bring light to someone's dark day, hope to someone who feels hopeless, and love to someone who feels forgotten. It's easy to become caught up in our busy lives and overlook the struggles of those around us. We often feel that the problems of others are too big for us to fix, that our actions won't make a difference. But the truth is that every act of kindness creates a ripple, no matter how small. One person's decision to help can inspire others to do the same, and before long, you've sparked a movement of compassion and care. You don't have to do it alone. Change doesn't require a single person to do everything. It requires a community, a collective effort. When you act with kindness, you inspire others to do the same. Just like Rihanna's simple act of stopping to talk to Malik led to an outpouring of help from other people, your kindness can have a similar effect. As you reflect on Malik's story, think about how you can be a part of this change. Can you help someone who's struggling? Can you offer a word of encouragement, a helping hand, or a chance at a better future? The world needs more kindness, more empathy, and more people who are willing to make a difference. So, let this be your call to action. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect circumstances. You have the power right now to change someone's story, to make a lasting impact. Whether it's a friend, a stranger, or someone in need, take the time to reach out. Show them that they matter, that they are seen, and that they are worthy of love and support. And when you do, watch how the world around you changes. Watch how small acts of kindness can build a better, more compassionate world. You may never fully know the extent of your impact, but rest assured, it will be felt. Every kind word, every generous gesture, and every moment of connection makes the world just a little bit brighter. As you go about your day, remember that you can be the change. You don't need to be a celebrity to change someone's life. Sometimes, All it takes is a small act of kindness. Just as Malik's story was transformed by Rihanna's gesture, your kindness could be the spark that changes someone else's world forever. The power is in your hands. What will you do with it? Take a moment today to make a difference. You never know what kind of impact your kindness will have, or how far it will ripple through the lives of others. But one thing is certain, it will matter. Be the kindness the world needs. You don't have to be famous. You just have to care.